Hello everyone, my name is Roya and today I'm going to be telling you all about the books that I read in the first half of March. I only read 3 books, which I guess is really okay. I'm just kind of bummed because these were all like really short, so it's like I feel like I didn't get as much reading done this month so far as I wanted to, but also because one of these books was really not great. So I'm going to start with that one. So I read Geist by Philippa Ballantyne, and this book really ended up pissing me off. So for most of this book, really the only thing that was bothering me was just some stuff with the plot just being really boring, the characters having little to no personalities, really no motivation to do anything. Just the whole thing was just very flat and boring, and the characters were very one-track minded, didn't really have a whole lot of personality at all. The plot was not very high stakes at all. It was kind of meh, and I mean, while the whole concept was really interesting and was kind of clever, stuff felt like it was getting very, introduced very haphazardly. Like we would just suddenly be introduced to this or that thing that hadn't really come up before when it probably should have, and then suddenly we get this whole explanation for what this or that is, and it just felt very stilted, and just the storytelling overall was just not great. But what really ended up making me really not like this book and making me have to just kind of end up not really finishing it. I got most of the way through it, but I didn't read like the last 50 pages or so. So basically what happens is the main character gets into a relationship with someone, but she's married. So I don't really care that much about cheating in books. That's not really the issue. I don't have the issue with that a lot of people do, because I hate monogamy anyway. Like, who really cares? But essentially it had a lot more to do with the way that it was presented. So first of all, this is a fantasy book. We don't necessarily have to have the taboo of, oh no, you like someone who's not your spouse at all. Like, why does it have to subscribe to our societal norms? Why? It's totally a fantasy book. There's nothing else in this whole book that indicates a monogamous society at all. It just so happens that the main character is married. So why not just make it okay for her to hook up with somebody else if that's the way you're gonna go? Like, there's no reason for it to be constituted as cheating at all. So, but it's not just that either. It's also, there are a lot of things wrong with it, so just bear with me here. Also, there was really no reason for the main character to have been married in the first place. Her husband is such a small part of the plot. We only see him at the beginning of the book, so there's no reason for him to have been her husband at all. He could literally have been like just somebody that she liked, or like even just a good friend or something. Like, there was no reason for her to have to be married to him. It has no bearing on the plot whatsoever. So basically what that tells me is that the whole thing was just set up to be a cheating subplot, which I did not appreciate. Also, there's also the fact that it really shows how poor the storytelling was, because at the beginning, where we do see the main character with her husband briefly, it really feels like she does love him. Like, they are happy together, all of that. But then all of a sudden, at like 200 pages into this book, when she hooks up with this other guy, suddenly she's saying that her marriage has not been going well for a long time. And this is not the narrative that we've gotten thus far at all. And it's not even just her saying that either. It's like suddenly other characters are, from their point of view, in their point of view chapters and stuff, saying that like they've heard the rumors that her marriage has not been good lately, blah, 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 and not been good for years, and it's just convenience now, when that was not what it seemed like before that point at all. It was at that point where I started feeling like this entire book just sucks and the storytelling is terrible. So it really read to me throughout the story like stuff was added to the story, new ideas were thought of and brought into the story without stuff earlier in the book being changed accordingly at all. So I felt like it started feeling like a very stilted, not very thought out story, and it was at that point where I felt like this is just not good storytelling and I don't want to finish the rest of this book. I tried to read past that point. I got a little bit more of the way into it, but ultimately, like 50 pages from the end, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was just getting so bored anyway. And basically, I was just really, really disappointed in this book. And yeah, so I would really recommend skipping this one if you are bothered by storytelling that does not add up and all of that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. And it's not even just me like interpreting it wrong or anything like that. Like I actually read some reviews of this book to like see if maybe I had missed something, and actually a lot of the reviews of this book were saying the same thing that I had noticed, where it seemed at the beginning like she and her husband loved each other, and then all of a sudden it changes, like the whole narrative just changes from there. After she hooks up with the other guy, like suddenly her marriage hasn't been working well for a long time now, and I'm just like, dude, really? Like why have any of that? And also that presents that also kind of shows like that, oh no, the only reason you can like someone else is if your relationship isn't going well, which I don't believe is true at all. I think it's human nature to like people other than your relationship partner. It's just part of being human. So I just like really did not appreciate the way that this book approached that at all. So sorry for the long rant. I'm just gonna go on to the rest of the books that I read this month. I read The Dream Quest of Vilit Bo, and this is a story basically about this woman who wanders through this dreamland to get to the waking world and find somebody and return her to the dream world, essentially. And so this book was, you know, it's pretty good. It's interesting. I like how, you know, they're in the dream world to begin with, so they're talking about like, oh, the waking world doesn't have patterns in the sky, it's just blue with like clouds, and it's just kind of there and never ending. Like, that sounds boring and stuff like that. Like, I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, it did have a lot of interesting plot points like that. However, what really made me not like this book as much as I could have was the storytelling style. It told everything in this very far away way where it really takes you out of the story. So it kind of talks about, for instance, this person that she meets, blah, 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 was mean to her but nice to her cat. And it just kind of says that. It doesn't show how at all. It doesn't say like, oh, he pet the cat and then he turned away from her, not even answering her question or anything like that at all. It just says like, he was rude to her and nice to her cat. And it's like, okay, well, so the whole writing just was very, very tell-y and didn't show us stuff. It just kind of said stuff, and that's not the type of storytelling style that I appreciate. So while I did kind of like this book, I didn't love it. I kind of just thought it was all right and good-ish, but anyway. And finally, I also read Chalice by Robin McKinley. This is a really weird book, so hard to describe. I felt like I was reading a Patricia A. McKillip book rather than a Robin McKinley book this whole time. But essentially this is about a woman who has just become the chalice of her circle, and we're not really given, it's not really given to us what the circle does. I mean, basically we know that she can see the earth lines, and that's basically it. Because again, this is so weird, and all of it makes sense in the context of the book. Like, it doesn't feel like it's missing anything, and it doesn't feel like it's missing any explanation at all. But when you try to explain it to anybody else, it just sounds very like you can't describe it, and it makes no sense. So I'm going to try to describe it the best I can. So she finds out that she is now going to be the chalice of her circle, and this other dude is now going to be the master of the circle, because both the chalice and the master, who are essentially kind of the leaders of the circle but not really, both died and hadn't appointed any kind of heir to take their place. So The master of the circle, the new master, is a priest of fire, so he's barely even human anymore. He's used to basically just being made out of fire, all this stuff, and he like burns everything he touches. So a lot, but she likes him. She thinks he's a good guy, all of that stuff. But a lot of other people in the circle are not very happy with him. So they try to replace him with this other guy who's a douchebag, and because he's not related to, like, he's from a totally different circle, she would have to marry him, and she's not happy about that because he makes her skin crawl. She would rather have the new master that's already been appointed and all that stuff, even though he's like made out of fire and stuff. So anyway, it makes sense. I promise when you read this book, it makes total sense. But so I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really interesting. It definitely is hard to read in like multiple sittings. You really do kind of have to read it all in one sitting almost. Otherwise you lose a lot of the like stuff that's happening, and it's really complicated. So I was trying to read it on breaks from work, and it was like getting really difficult, and I had to like concentrate harder to like remember what even happened, because it takes longer than a 15 to 30 minute break to like to get into what's going on. So it was like really weird. But yeah, it's definitely the kind of book that you have to concentrate on, even though it's not very long at all. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. So anyway, those are the books that I read in the first half of March. Hopefully I will read more in the second half of March, but anyway, I guess only time will tell. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on these books if you've read them, and let me know what you've read this month so far. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!